Hi, I'm Yansimin James and this is my demonstration video for FIT 2097 Assignment 3. So let's start. So when you play the game, there will be a cinematic sequence. Where am I? I should be on the boat to Australia. Hold on. Is that a note? If you are reading this, I'm probably dead. Listen, you were kidnapped in a very dangerous island by man-eaters. If you don't escape as soon as possible and go to the signal tower at the end of the island, you're going to be dead. Don't worry, I'll tell you all the things that I know. First, you need to keep yourself alive. I have some water, food and health potions in the house. You can also find them around the island. There are man-eaters around the island. You can either use a distraction device to distract them, or stun them and kill them with a weapon. There are different trap planes in the island. You need to activate them to get through. There are different kinds of plane in the island, but I'm sure one of them can only be activated by a key around the island. Here is all the information I have for you. Good luck. So when the game starts, the cinematic sequence is finished and then the game will start, and here's the house. This is the distraction, so I'll take this and refill my health. So I've made a distraction, so it will activate when the enemy is in a certain range, and then it will distract the enemy player. And also there will be a stun grenade in which to stun the enemy for 5 seconds. I'll get the keys. Okay. So when you activated the distraction, there will be a Niagara FX spawn, and the enemy will go there for a few seconds. And then the enemy will return back to its normal behavior. So that's the weapon that I just picked up. So when the player have weapon, they can stealth kill an enemy if they were not spotted by the enemy and they get within a certain distance. Also, I'll try on the next enemy. This one is the knock plane. Get the key. And there's also a distraction. So just to show that the stun grenade can stun enemy and then they can't move or anything, but if you are using the distraction and the enemy spots you, you will still be chased by the enemy. So I'll just need to find the enemy. Okay, there she is. Okay, I'll try to distract her and then let her see me. You can see that when he's seeing me, she will ignore the distraction and chase me. But I can also stun her and then kill her by pressing F when I have the weapon. So I can't do that if I don't have a weapon. It won't glow red when I get close to her. So there is a game, a red light green light game, so I need to stop when it turns red and I can move on when it turns green. So when I walk, I will be deducting 12 HP. Oh no. So when I get there and push the button, the game will end and the button will be activated. So that's the trigger box, the post-processing box that I made to allow player to know that they've entered the red light green light game. I'll take the health. I need the health. Okay, and after I push the button, originally the fields here cannot be accessed without pressing the button, but I've combined them together. So now after I press the button, I can activate this plane to get the fields. That's the water. Get the food too. Okay. This one is another key, so I've combined one more puzzle to it, so that this plane need to be activated by a key, but I will still have one key left for the other puzzle. Yep. So here originally is the binary switch, but I covered with the plane that need to be activated by a key. So now I've activated it. It's not this. Okay, and so after I enter this switch, the processing volume will change to indicate that like the player is safe now. So it's brighter and has a more warmer color. And yep, that's the end. So for the code, I've mainly messed with the activate button to add the red light green light game to it. So yeah, this is the header. I've added the timer for the red light and the green light, and also the endgame boolean to indicate that the game has finished and change to blue color and clear all the timer. So here's the CPP. So this one is the red color, the green color, and when it's end, it will change to the blue color and set the endgame to true, so that you won't reactivate again even if you re-enter the post-processing box, the trigger box. So this one is the red light green light game, and the distraction is quite simple. It's mainly just into an implementation and a grow. I've changed the dynamic material so it will grow constantly, and then when the player, to indicate that it can be picked up, and when the player gets closer it will stop growing. This is the header. And what I've mainly changed is the enemy AI controller and the enemy character. So as you can see, I'll go for the character first. This is the header. I've added the Niagara components to spawn the FX, and this field is to indicate if the player can attack the character, like if they have weapon, and this will return the parameters to other classes. So this is the stun FX, the distraction, and these two are the distraction FX. For the CPP, it will mainly be the trigger will be called in the tick. So when the player has attacked, it will call this function, and then if the conditions are true, it will destroy, so indicate that the player has stealth killed it. And these are the FX. And also this will make the enemy grow red when the player can attack, when the player have the option to attack it. And these are for the stun and distraction. So after they are stunned or distracted, it will return a value to the AI controller to control their behavior, to change their behavior. So this is the AI controller header. So for the CPP, So the main thing is just changing the behavior. The trigger and escape enemy damage are still the same, but if the enemy is stunned, it will call the spawn FX, and yeah, if it's true, then it will spawn the FX2 and set the new value for the enemy player to go there for a few seconds and then go back to normal. And when the player, like on sensor update, when the enemy have spot the player cannot use the weapon to kill them even if they got one. So this one is for that function. So let's see. For the character class, the main thing that I've changed is just basically adding one more function for the red light green light game damage and some booleans to indicate if the player have stunned the enemy, or if the player has a weapon, if the player has used the weapon, something like that, and the number of the stun grenade and distraction and boolean for the weapon. So yeah, I have found the input for the distraction, stun grenade, and distraction, stun grenade, and the weapon, so that when you press Q is to use the distraction, when you press E is for the stun grenade, and when you press F is for the weapon. Yeah, the game trigger box is quite simple. It's just a trigger box to indicate that. So when the player has come into the box, it will just call the button and start the game. So it's just starting the timer. And for the patrol AI and the patrol enemy is pretty much the same. So I've also changed all the interactive bolts to be growing to indicate that they can be picked up. So this one is also the same at the Niagara and different parameters, different variables, yeah, and yeah, these are the FX, and for the CPP is pretty much the same. Yeah, you go red and distracted, stunned, and spawn the FX, and update the detection to indicate to change if the player can attack the enemy. This one is to destroy himself if the conditions are true. So for the AI controller, it's also pretty much the same. Yeah. So for the CPP, it's pretty much the same. If the player was spotted, you cannot attack, and when they are distracted or stunned, it will change to another behavior. Yeah, and for the stun grenade and weapon, is quite simple. Stun grenade is quite simple. It just include the character to add the stun grenade number to it when the player pick up, and also it will be growing. So pretty much the same for the weapons, but instead of the number, it will just change the boolean to indicate that the player has got the weapon. Yep, and also I've also changed the behavior tree and backblock to get the new behavior from the AI. So as you can see, this one is when the enemy are stunned. When the enemy are stunned, they'll just ignore all the other stuff. Like even if they are distracted, you can also stun them and maybe kill them. And this one, the second priority is the distraction. So yep, and the third priority, oh no, the second priority will be the chase player. So even if the player has distracted the enemy, but if they are spotted, then they will just ignore this and go to chase the player. So the last will be its normal sequence. For the backbone value, I've just added stun, distraction, and distraction position for it. So for enemy blueprint, it's pretty much the same. So the highest priority is the stun, followed by the chase player, and then the distraction, and then its normal behavior. The backboard is the same too. So, and also I've added a sequence to the cinematics. Nope, here. Oh no, not this one. Yeah, and so this one is to play the sequence player when the map got loaded, and it will get the duration and set the timer. So as soon as the video is finished, it will just create the HUD UI for the player to play around. So that's pretty much it. So thank you.